Picture this, kiddies. A roaring bonfire, spooky ghost stories, hauntings, eerie ghostly sounds in the night, pumpkins glowing orange from candlelight, ghouls, goblins, witches, and cats. A perfect All Hallows Eve, right? Where did the candy costumes, bobbing for apples, and the pumpkin come to represent Halloween? We are about to dabble in the lore of Halloween, All Hallows Eve, October 31st, and all of its mysteries, traditions, and other ghastly lore. So, lock your doors, turn down the lights, and listen to the history of Halloween by C.M.M. Conspiracy, monsters, and more. The legend of Halloween is what is known as folk history, and you either love it or hate it, it seems. There is no in between. Folk history is mystery, finding tidbits of information, making assumptions to fill in the gaps, using deductive reasoning. And today on CMM, we have done the work for you. So sit back, relax, and listen to the tales that make up the legend of Halloween. Essentially, all the ingredients that make up Halloween are greater than the sum of the parts, including facts, urban legends, myths, the occult. It's the echoes of the past, passed down through centuries, a millennia even, that make up the legend of All Hallows Eve, Halloween, if you will. So, you may ask, is Halloween a druidic practice to ward off evil? Or is it a Catholic day to pray for the dead? It could be a celebration of the coming of the fall harvest, or is it a product of Victorian literature enhanced by Hollywood? Or is it part of a neo pagan and Wiccan theme of the modern world? Or is it just an expensive night for parents escorting kids around knocking on doors saying trick or treat? Well, the answer is yes. This is folk history at its apex. And we will visit these themes and try to explain to you how together they make up Halloween. So let's begin, shall we?
All right, guys. And speaking of ingredients, before you find yourself neck deep in a witch's cauldron, why don't you make your way down to that description area? Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a sub, slap the shit out of that toast because we enjoy it. And with all of that being said and out of the way, we're going to get into our special little Halloween segment we're going to be running from now until the 28th or whatever day it is, because I don't pay attention to the calendar, till Halloween hits. We're going to be running a special once a week on Halloween here on the C.M.M. portion of Cool, presented by CoolKegs Productions. And today we have everyone together. We haven't had everyone together in a while. I'm excited. Like, I'm having heart palpitations over here. God damn it! I need EMTs.
What's up, boys?
I guess. Yeah. What's up, guys? How you been? What you been doing?
Same old, same old.
Same, buddy. You know what I do behind the computer. It's good to have everybody back. It's been a minute since we've done a CMM.
It's been a minute since we've done with all of us. Even it's great. We need to do more of these.
I know, dude.
I have been twitching, I call it, and somebody said, "What? You've been streaming?" I said, "No, I'm twitching."
I'm twitching. Which, by the way,
it's like the Tourette's for the kids that don't know.
what's the name of that Twitch? We'll throw it in the description.
Big Duke 6666. Yeah.
4 6s.
Yeah. I only need 3. I figured 4 would be better.
Links in the description, though, guys.
It would have been ironic if it was 3, though, given the subject matter.
Yeah. Considering. So, speaking of the subject matter, you guys kind of excited for Halloween, or I know you guys.
I've always been a Halloween fan. I love Halloween. Maybe it's the change of seasons of the cool weather.
Yeah, I'm a fall guy myself. I don't know.
Halloween just means deer season to me. Well, bear season, deer season, rabbit season.
Yeah,
it means hunting to me.
Yeah, deer season to me too. It's and it's just cool weather. When you're living Satan's anus, it's hot.
It's nice to have a breeze.
Yeah.
Well, it brings
Pun
the
intended.
humidity up here, so I'm enjoying it.
Pun
For sure.
intended, boys.
I
Pun
do
intended.
know that for all of the weebs that might listen in on this one, I'm actually dressing up this year. Maybe if you guys are really cool and give us a like and some interaction here, since y'all suck at commenting, calling you out, boy. Um, maybe I'll give a picture to old Breezy to edit into one of our future videos for you. As we're going anime themed this year for my family. As much as I hate dressing up and everything about the concept, but I'm gonna do it because I got kids and they asked me to. So I'm a sucker when they ask me nicely, because usually they don't. So yeah, we're gonna be doing 3 Demon Slayer characters and a One Piece character, because my son is obsessed with One Piece. He's got to be Luffy, of course, because who wouldn't be the MC? You got to be the MC. Ironically, in Demon Slayer, none of us are the MC, which is Tanjiro, for those of you who are curious. But yeah, no, my daughter's going as Nezuko, my wife's going as Shinobu, and then just because you have to make a couple out of it, I'm going to go as Gyu, which fits my personality because my daughter calls him Depresso Espresso. So we're good. It all fits. There's going to be swords, there's going to be wigs, there's going to be Japanese-looking shit that we have on. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, 50 likes. 50 likes. I got to get that picture of you dressed up. The whole family.
I had an idea one time for a costume for. I've always wanted to do a costume contest. I've never been to one, and I figured nobody has ever, no man my size has ever dressed up as Peppermint Patty from the Peanuts, Charlie Brown. Yeah. And I figured that would win, doing the dance and everything would win a costume contest. I mean, that would be.
For context, Duke's like 6'5". I don't know. Probably what? 250, 280?
285, 290.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, 300 and something with the titanium in it.
Oh my God. He's not a small guy. That's going to be great. That's going to be great.
I'm way too fat to be you, but we're gonna make it work.
Well,
I'm
here
on a little bit of a weight loss, but if I could, real quick, steal the convo for a minute and do a little segue here, maybe to our first talking point of the conversation.
Okay.
I have something that fits. So there's a tradition of wearing costumes for Halloween, right? That we were just talking about. And it actually has its origins in the Celtic festival of Samhain, which is a pagan holiday marking the beginning of winter. And so the reason that they would do that is because they believe that the veil between the living and the dead was the thinnest during this time, and that spirits would come to Earth. And to protect themselves, these Celts would dress up in animal skin costumes to blend in with the spirits of the dead that were visiting Earth during this time. So I thought that was a really interesting bit of lore that...
and not to correct you, but the actual, the supposed correct pronunciation of what's spelled Samhain is Sowen, is how it's Sowen. Yeah,
okay.
Like Sowen.
By all means, man. I'm fully expecting to butcher some of the things I have written down in notes.
And I've always called it Samhain, but when I started, delving back into it, that it's always being pronounced Sowen, and I'm like, that makes sense. And yeah, you're right. You're right. It was they dressed up in skins to ward off the demons, because that day the supposed gate to the other world opened up. But to add to that, now we go into this, being a folk history deal. There's always pieces that you have to pick up on and fill in the blank, and one of the things is the Celts, they spread throughout all of Europe. Even Julius Caesar had written about them in his Gaelic, the book about the Gaelic Wars. But the ones in the Irish Celts, the ones that were associated with the Druids, were basically the ones that celebrated Samhain. But it was not just the warding off of the demons. It was a time when the kings and the leaders of the tribes in Ireland and Britain would come to the Druids and ask advice, because the Druids were the spiritual leaders and basically the counselors for the hierarchy, I would guess you would call it, of the tribes in, the Irish and British Isles.
Yeah.
And they also, the common folk would come there. They would have to put their fire out in their hearth, and they would come there on the same day, and the druids would have a big bonfire, and they would have to pay their taxes to the druids, because the druids had, had to be paid, and they would pay their taxes, and the druids would give them an ember to restart their fire at the house. That was your receipt for your payment of taxes, basically, was that ember. And then, it was also associated with the harvest. So if you snatched out the part about the skins and the demons and stuff, if you took that out, this day was still culturally significant to the Irish. And you understand why I bring that up later on in this episode as we're talking, how it gets reincorporated back into Halloween, when it becomes the Halloween part, because at this time it's called Samhain, and then for years it was Druid, it was what you consider pagan, and then around early medieval times you had the Catholic Church started becoming the preeminent worship, the religion that was taken over, and it took the idea of sowing and didn't do away with it. They moved and changed dates on their calendar and moved what they call All Hallows Day to November 1st. And All Hallows Day was when you prayed for the souls of the dead, especially the souls that were in purgatory. You prayed for them to, I guess, pass on out of purgatory and to have, to God to take pity on them and let them leave purgatory. And they moved it to that day. Well, that incorporated that October 31st was All Hallows Eve. And so, with the Catholic Church taking over, they then added what was called All Souls Day, which was November 2nd. And all three combined was called the Hallow Tide. And that's where the Hallow part started as far as, Halloween. So originally the 3 days were the Hallow Tide. And I didn't know if y'all knew about that or not.
See, and that's pretty crazy. So this was all, so basically you guys are saying this came from the Celtics to ward off basically evil spirits? Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, the Celtic part of it, it went from merriment and partying, basically celebrating, to blood sacrifice. I mean, they had the Celtic Druidic part was a vast span between taxes, partying, and blood sacrifice, and so it's, the Catholics would have looked on that, and most times when Catholics seen something like that, they would try and strike it from the earth, with like something like an Inquisition or something like that. But with this one, it was so injected into the society that they just basically incorporated it, and it was also fell along, and the Catholic became prominent along with Saint Patrick and all that, in Ireland. So all that kind of tied together. So they used the date to make it a Hallow Tide to inject the Catholic influence into it. And so it went from a Celtic pagan tradition, ritual, cultural, meeting place.
Yeah.
You could call it. And to a Catholic thing, and then it evolves from there. In the Renaissance, it takes another little twist.
Well, yeah. So I remember like Frankenstein was made in like the 1930s, right? And everybody remembers that kind of. So by then was Halloween already hijacked by the West, to what we kind of know it is now?
Basically by then it was what you would consider it Americana Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween had been twisted into and then that was started by, which we're jumping ahead, but we can do that. It basically was the Victorian Gothic literature of the late 1800s.
Okay.
Was what injected the the ghouls and goblins part of um, Halloween, and that kind of that spark was sparked from this um, gentleman in the 1700s into the early 1800s named Charles Vallancey. He was a British civil engineer, but he was kind of obsessed with the Irish traditions and the Druid practices and stuff. Excuse me. And he wrote a book. It was a real ill researched book. He had a bunch of books. He was actually well known for writing stuff, but this particular book, historians usually either laugh at it or hate it. But he's the one that said there was devil worship and demonic worship in the in All Hallows Eve and all that.
Yeah.
He was saying that they were worshiping a god called Balsab, which means the Lord of Darkness. And there's no written anything anywhere or no passed down oral history of any Balsab. The only thing close would be the Mesopotamian god Baal that was worshipped. And that was in Mesopotamia even way before that, So I think there was something twisted, and his writings are kind of just, they look away from him now. But he injected that evil, sinister part. He originally injected that sinister thought of Halloween or All Hallows Eve, and then the Gothic Victorian horror of the late 1800s. Around the time of Jack the Ripper, and when Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, and all of that was injected into this theme of Halloween by Hollywood, basically. And Hollywood did it, and then you had the baby boom after the World Wars. But with the baby boom, you had all these middle-class Americans with kids, and suburbs had popped up, and they needed something to do around that time. So what do we do? Well, there's this All Hallows Eve. We'll call it Halloween. We've got all these new movies coming out. There's all these ghouls and goblins and Frankenstein and Dracula, and we'll make costumes and can make money off of it and turn it into a holiday. And that's basically how it became Americana. But there's steps up to that point that we can discuss.
Yeah, well, and I'm a simpleton, but things like the jack-o'-lantern and how it became a thing, like that interests me.
That's all American. The corn, the pumpkin is all New World stuff. The question is, how did it originally get over here when the people that basically settled America were Protestant? They were very anti-Catholic, so they did not carry any Catholic tradition with them. They were Protestant and had a Protestant thought process, and they were very anti-Catholic at that time. Because back then even before then, they were killing each other off when a Protestant king or queen became in power, or Catholic, back and forth. It was like a holy war.
Yeah.
And that's the question: how did it get brought over and become Halloween? Well, that probably has to do with what I was saying in the Druidic cultural part of it. It wasn't just about warding off the evil demons. It was also, celebrating harvest, paying taxes, having fun, parties, and it was all about the fall, the coming of fall, and that part of it had to have been what come over. And then when the Irish started coming over, they brought more of that, the Celtic theme with them. And then eventually Catholics were over here, and they brought the Catholic part of it. And we as Americans are good at taking a little bit from a lot of stuff and making it into ours. And that's exactly what we did with Halloween.
Yeah.
It
probably came over with the Scot and Irish immigration type stuff.
Yeah. A lot of the Druidic, the Druidic part, come over. Then when you had Catholics moving, when they weren't being, just at odds with Protestants, we're going to war, we're going to kill this side off or this side off. When they weren't doing that no more,
gangs of New York
Catholics
shit
come over, because America was supposed to be, any religion. Well, they brought over the Catholic side of it, the All Hallows Eve, the All Hallows Day, and it was all melded. A little bit of everything was taken, And then when you had Hollywood injecting ghouls and goblins and witches and black cats into it, it made for a selling point. Something that could be sold. It could be sold for a long time. Like, put it this way, in 2021, there was over $12 billion spent on Halloween.
Good.
Just Halloween. In the 1900s and the 20th century, Halloween was American, basically. Only English-speaking countries celebrated Halloween. But now, Japan celebrates it. Everybody celebrates it.
Yeah,
Everybody's
even part of the Far East even celebrates Halloween too. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, okay, now we're going to back up a little bit. You get to the Renaissance, time of right past the medieval period when, you had Martin Luther and all, when the Protestants were breaking away from the Catholic Church and stuff like that. You had the Inquisition. You had, they did have the witch trials in just certain places where pretty much anybody could point a woman and say, oh, she did this and she's a witch, and they were, all that had become injected by Hollywood basically into Halloween. But in the Renaissance, there wasn't much really to do in that particular time, and there were Protestant and there were Catholic, but what they did was they started this tradition of it's called souling.
Yeah.
And souling was like kids would go around and they'd knock on your door and they'd be like singing a carol, almost like Christmas does.
Yeah.
They would knock on the door and sing carols, and the people would give them treats.
Yeah.
And that had to have been taken into account for the whole trick-or-treat deal. In my opinion, it was that little bit taken from the Renaissance that was probably passed. That could have passed with Protestant to the New World.
Well, my great-grandmother used to call it guising.
Oh, yeah?
For the longest time. Yeah, she would call it guising. Like, basically, when we dress up, you're going to go guising. But she was fairly old, but she was from the Scottish background as well, so... Yeah, the trick-or-treat thing.
Yeah.
You got some on that? Because that's interesting, what that actually means.
Well, I don't have much on the actual... We're going to get into some of the next episode, we're going to get into a lot of more of the in-depth of the
gotcha.
Darker parts of Halloween, how, ghouls and goblins and ghosts and, everything dark is associated with Halloween. And I was more into the of it this time. I'm trying to, there was something else here that I have that I was going to mention. Yeah, we talked about the baby boomers of the world wars. They had to have something to do. And basically, Halloween, as we know it, is Americana. It's a melting pot where we take, and that's truly American, is taking little things from a bunch of different areas and mashing it together into one little thing that we consider ours. And that's, to me, that's as American as it gets, because we're a melting pot anyway.
Well, what's crazy is that it's a holiday like this, and what it's about, and most of the world celebrates it. I can't think of anything else really, because Christmas isn't even celebrated like this. And to pass down from millennia, from being a pagan tradition, a cultural, and that's probably what was the reason it's lasted so long, because it could be thousands of years that this is passed down, because the Druids were, an ancient society that lived on an island basically between Ireland and Britain, and they were wiped out by the Romans. So they made it to, the start of the AD, after the birth of Christ and all, but somewhere around in there is when they were wiped out that was when Boudica was, in actuality, when Boudica attacked what is now Londinium, and destroyed it, the Roman legions were marching on the island that the Druids lived on, and were wiping out the Druids at the same time. That's why there was no protection for Londinium. Okay. And Boudica was a female British
chieftain or queen that led a revolt against the Romans, and she ended up losing, but she did wipe out all of Londinium, I think, or it may not have been, was it Londinium, or she marched on Londinium in another city, a Roman town, and on the British Isles, and she actually massacred everybody, women, children, and all there, and
Wow.
because just in retaliation of her two daughters being had the Romans took her two daughters and had their way with them, and Boudica was able to talk the Picts and all the tribes into fighting the Romans under one banner, and she almost won, but she came up a little short, and this wasn't horseshoes or hand grenades, so and she lost. And but anyway, that was where the Druids were basically wiped out, and it became they didn't write anything down. They the only thing that was written on was like rune type stones, and this was, you know, and the Druids were actually influencing even the Nordic tribe, you know, the Nordic peoples of the Vikings, and from the Norway and all that. They all knew of the Druids also. But when the Druids were wiped out, that took away a spiritual leader per se, and also the main advisor for the tribes. And
well, that's
Britain
what I was going to
and
ask.
Ireland, and that's what brought them down, where they were able to be conquered by different, you know, the different sections. That's how England became England, was the loss of the Druids and a spiritual leader.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. You mentioned the Nordics.
And then then the influx of Catholicism.
Well, you mentioned the Nordics, and I know Kegs kind of has his lineage in that. I was just curious if he had heard anything growing up.
Well, ironically, I came into that on my own after tracing some stuff and finding what resonated with myself. So the irony of all of this is that I was actually raised Catholic. My grandmother was extremely religious, and she was a she was a force to be reckoned with. Old
Old battle axe.
Oh man, yeah. Let me tell you. So, but there is. Sorry. Come on. I'm trying to get into my notes here. I had notes. I'm trying to pull them up here real quick.
You're good. I got post-production. It's all good. That's my job, boys. We're just having some fun.
Right.
This is fascinating, though. Like, all this will be
So
cut out.
there's good luck pronouncing this. I'll spell it, and everyone can go ahead and I tried to figure out how to pronounce this last night, and it's a mouthful. That's one of the things I struggle with what I follow, I guess you could say, is pronouncing the shit. So, but yeah, there was a Viking tradition called Alf-a-Balot, or something along those lines. There's like little tick marks above the A and the O, Alfabalot. But it's also known as the sacrifice to the elves, which took a time around the same as Halloween and was very similar. It was derived a bit from it, from what I was able to find. Like end of autumn, beginning of winter. It was a celebration of the spirits of the dead and offered sacrifices to avoid malevolent forces from those spirits.
Alpha Blot.
Something like, yeah, it's an odd one when you look at it. Your brain just kind of goes, what the fuck? But yeah, it was interesting because like strangers were not allowed to enter any of the farmsteads during the celebration. It was a very closed door thing, and the rituals aren't really all that well known. It's just believed that people left offerings to their ancestors, and to the spirits out on the land outside their homes, different of different types, I guess. There was also a beginning of winter feast, Vetreiner, I guess would be the way to put it in their words, which was just a winter night celebration, and there was all kinds of other celebrations that the Vikings had because We like to party.
We like
Now,
to party.
here's a question about that. I, I believe that the lady of the house led the festivities. I think during that, and
Generally speaking, it would have been the chieftain's wife.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's where, I don't know, man, I'm just reaching. I wonder if that's where they decided to inject the witch part of Halloween. You know, have witches and, you know, like, because ladies didn't really, you know, didn't have many things that they led. You know, I don't know, but it was around the same time as sewing, and they did blood sacrifices too, I'm sure.
Well, I can't wait for the next episode too, where we can get into the traditions of like apple bobbing and jack-o'-lantern stuff like that. So.
It's the Shield Maiden Sanctum, the Viking Halloween.
The Viking Halloween.
I don't know. I was looking at that. Oh, that's interesting. Here's how you put this together. If you look at what we were talking about, you have the sewing, which we know the ritual of sewing, where you have that particular part of it. You put that up here at the top. Then right below it, you put the Catholic injection, where they moved the Lutheran, whatever, the Liturgian calendar, changed it around to incorporate the Hallowtide, which was October 31st to November 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add souling to it, and then you add what we consider the modern idea of the horror genre from the Victorian era that was injected. You take all those, put those together, and look at it, and you start seeing Halloween. You've got souling, you've got knocking on the doors, you've got rituals, you know, that started the Catholic name that started Halloween, and then you have the modern part when it come over, you know, the brought over to the New World, where the celebration of the harvest, which would be your pumpkins and your corn, because you would be harvesting your corn, and you know, that was the main staple, was corn, and then you had, you know, your pumpkins and stuff that grew in the New World, and all that was there and prevalent at the same time, and it was all incorporated into, hey, we've got this dead spot between here, and we have nothing nowhere up to Thanksgiving, which was basically another twisted type deal, but we'll get into that down the road. But, you know, they had to have something to fill in, and that's where Halloween come in, and then it became where you could make money off of it. And
right, the Thanksgiving genocide. I mean,
yeah. Well, and here's the thing for our British, for our British, you know, and UK residents, the Guy Fawkes Night, you know, everybody knows about November 5th, right? So.
Yeah, that's November 5th. Yeah, they celebrate that.
Absolutely.
Still to this day.
Shout out to all our guys over there, by the way, across the pond. Just wanted to say that. And in our next episode on this, we really will go into some of the more kind of traditional things. You know?
Yeah, we'll go into the ghouls
side.
And goblins and monsters and witches and
like
cauldrons, and we may even go into witch trials and stuff like that.
We can get to the Salem stuff. That would be great.
The thing is, we are kind of at that time where we like to simmer it down and keep things a little bit more palatable for everyone, because, you know, we care about yous. I think we're going to go ahead and leave that as a cliffhanger for us for next week's episode. Again, we have multiple ways to reach out to us. Leave a comment, send us an email. Hell, we'll make a phone number if you guys want to call. Maybe we can make a dedicated Discord server for you guys, so we get a little bit more fan communication. I don't know what else to call you guys.
I don't know.
We can call you our little gremlins, but that just makes it sound weird. But anyway, everyone, we love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in again. While you guys are here, please, one more time, for the people in the back, we'll shout it. Hit that like, smack the toast, smack the shit out of that toast like it's your ex that you hate or something like that. We love subscribers. You guys are awesome. And hit the know you bell, because we have all kinds of new projects coming out on all of our little playlists for you. You might as well just call us CoolKegs Productions, your only TV you need. Mag, Military Craft Guns and Gaming's got some new stuff coming out. The Anime Virgin's going to have some new stuff coming out. Golden Age of Boxing has new stuff. Breezy Does MMA is going to have some new stuff. We have all kinds of stuff in the works for you guys. So please, again, like, sub, noti bell, smack the shit out of my toast. I enjoy it. Butter side up or butter side down, boys?
Up.
Up? You think up?
Up.
All right, fair enough. I make a sandwich out of it and eat it that way. But hey, whatever floats your chicken. Anyway, we are going to see you guys next time.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Later.
Duke's like later.
Man.